So let's find the greatest common factor here. All right, so let's break it down. Let's break down this and this into its fundamental parts, its fundamental factors. So 3 would just be 3 times an A times an A and then a B, right? I'm breaking all this down. 3 doesn't have any factors besides 1, so I'm going to put 3 times A times A times B. Over here, 6 I can rewrite as 2 times 3. A to the third is really A times A times A, and B to the second is B times B. So look what I did is I broke down each term into its fundamental factors. The factors that I can't factor anymore. I can't factor 3 anymore. I can't factor 2 or 3 anymore. So I go all the way down to the basic factors. And now I ask myself, self, what do they have in common? What numbers do they have in common? How about that?
3.
Okay. There's definitely a 3 here and a 3 there. How many A's do they both have in common? 2. They both have at least 2 A's. Look at 2 A's here, 2 A's here. This one has 3, but they share 2. What's in common? There's 2 of them that they have in common.
1B.
And 1B in common. There's our GCF. That's our greatest common factor. So our greatest common factor is going to be 3A squared B. Watch. 3A squared B, and now I'm going to put parentheses. This is the greatest common factor right here. Okay? This is your...
Just everything that they have in common?
Right. But now what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this expression with the greatest common factor outside the parentheses. So I have to ask myself now, 3A squared B times what will be 3A squared B? Okay. Actually, will be negative 3A squared B. Negative 1. Look at negative 1. 3A squared B times negative 1 is going to be a negative 3A squared B. Let me put a plus now. 3A squared B times what is going to be 6A to the third B squared. Careful, 2 what? 2A what else? Look at what we didn't, whatever's left over that we didn't underline is what's going to be right there. 2AB here. Look at, I didn't underline that, I didn't underline that A, and I didn't underline that B. It'll be 2AB right here. We're done.
That's your answer?
This is my factored expression here. 3A squared B times the quantity, parentheses, negative 1 plus 2AB. Why is this the answer? Well, this expression, if I multiply this monomial times this binomial, I'll get this, what we started off with. Remember factors on Monday, or actually last Friday? Stuff we multiply to get to other stuff. Question on number 2. Let's try a couple more. Number 3. This time I'm going with dotted blue. I don't care what anybody says. Let's factor the GCF, the greatest common factor. There we go. There we go. 21p to the 6th plus 30p squared plus 27. Okay. So let me write out my common factors here. Let me break it down. 21 I can write as 7 times 3 times p, 6p, look at, right? That's this one. This one I can write as 6 times 5. But 6 I can rewrite as 3 times 2. So it's really 3 times 2 times 5. P times P. See, I have to go all the way to the basic parts, the basic factor parts. This is what we call a prime number factorization, all the prime numbers. A prime number is just a number that has no factors except one in itself. To do it this method, yeah. Otherwise, you can do it in your head. Some people would see this. I can look at this trinomial. I already know that they all share, the highest number they share is 3. 3 goes into that. So you can do this in your head. Right now, I'm breaking it down very basic level for those who are not quick with math, quick with numbers in their mind, and can't spot out a common factor. This is what you do. The last one would be, but 9 can be factored more. Be 3 times 3 times 3. Right? 27 is 3 times 3 times 3. All right. So here's the one for the middle term. Here's a factor for the first term. Here's a factor for the last term. Now we ask ourselves, self, which ones do they have in common? A 3, at least a 3 for the numbers, huh? At least they all have at least one 3. And they all have any p's? Is there any p's over here? There's no p. I'm not going to factor out a p. The only thing I'm going to factor out is a 3. That's the only thing they have in common, is 1 3. So look at this. Here's our final expression. 3 times okay. What's left over here? 7p to the 6, huh?
Yeah.
Whatever's left over is what's going to be here. Notice. The 7, whatever I didn't underline is what's left over, 7p to the 6. Which makes sense, because 3 times 7p to the 6 is going to be 21p to the 6. Plus, okay, what didn't I underline here? 2 times 5 is 10p to the second. 2 and 5 makes 10p to the second. Plus, 3 times 3 is 9. We're done. 3 times all this trinomial is going to give us a trinomial that we started off with. That's a greatest common factor, taking out a greatest common factor. The last one I want you to do on your own, before you grab your computer. You can work together or work solo, but do this one on your own, without my help. This is example 4, last one. Factor the GCF. So you'll do this one, show it to me, come to my table and show it to me, and then you get your computer, check your grade, and then go on to your assignments. Here we go. Let's go ahead and do this one. 20 x to the 4th minus 30x plus 30. Find that one for me. Go ahead and factor out the GCF there. Yeah. All right, let's break down 20x to the 4th. Let's break it down. So I'm going to break down 20x to the 4th as this. 5 times 4 times x times x times x times x, right? But 4 is not, I can still keep breaking down 4 to its final basic parts, which is really 2 times 2, right? You got to break it down to its basic parts that you can't break down any further. So it's 5, so the final factorization here would be 5 times 2 times 2 times x times x times x times x. This is the final factorization for the 20x to the 4th. Notice you can't break down 5 anymore. You can't break down 2 anymore. You can't break down 2 anymore. Okay, let's try it. How about the 30x now? Let's go. Right, 6 times 5 times x, but 6 I can keep breaking down. That's 3 times 2 times 5 times x. got to go all the way, so you can't go further anymore. Notice I did that for these numbers, and for this number. See, I can't go any further past 3. That's a prime number. That's a prime number. 2 is a prime number. 5 is a prime number. You go all the way to its prime numbers. All of them are prime. They call it prime factorization. How about 30? 6 times 5. Wait a minute. 6, I can go 3 times 2. So 3 times 2 times 5. There's your prime factorization. They're all prime numbers. Prime numbers are numbers where only factors of, the only factors they have is 1 in itself. Now, what do they have in common? Exactly. They all have a 5 and a 2 in common. So what is 5 times 2? 10. So there's your greatest common factor. That's your GCF, the greatest, the biggest common factor. It's 10. So now, let's put our parentheses now. What's left over here? Look at 2x, 2x to the 4th. Huh? I took out the 10. So I took out the 5 and the 2 right here. So what's left over is right there. I took out the 5 and 2. What's left over here? A 3x, huh? But I got to make sure it's a negative 3x because it has to multiply to become negative 30. So 10 times a negative 3x here. Be careful. Then 10 times what's going to be 30? Well, what's left over here is 3. There's your prime. There's your greatest common factor. It'll take practice.